Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Widowed AF and I'm your host, Rosie Gilmoss. Joining me today for our chat is my husband, Jonathan. Hi, John.
Hi, Rose. Hi, everybody.
Now, a little bit different today. We, despite living in the same house and recording an episode a week together for quite a while now, we don't sit in the same room. So I'm actually looking right at him now and it's really weird. But I'm hoping this is going to give you guys a bit of more of a sort of natural listening experience. That's so wanky. I'm sorry. But it's nice to actually be able to look at each other and sort of chat a little bit more informally. And we're hoping it'll lead to more sort of, I guess like a fireside chat vibe is what we're hoping to create going forward with what we're doing. So anyway, we have no idea how this sound quality is going to come out. This is our first attempt. So if you're hearing this, it went well. If not, it's going to be out late.
My guess is on late.
I don't think so. I think we're okay. I think the more worried we are about how it's going to turn out, the better they usually are. So I remember that one that I wouldn't listen to. And then people were messaging saying, oh, that was one of the best ones yet.
True.
So I think it is just... I sometimes think the more kind of last minute you do things, the better. But I know not everybody likes the fly by the seat of your pants approach that I do. So anyway, back to the matter in hand. We are going to be having a chat about Monday's episode, which was Kathy Lockett. And it was a suicide, which are always extraordinarily difficult to both record and then to listen to. So I hope everybody out there is okay because it can be a really difficult subject. And it's one that we know we have to talk about, but nobody really wants to. So we're trying at home here, aren't we? We try and, I mean, it's not something you want to kind of put into their minds, but we have conversations about mental health a lot. And we are going to have a bit of a chat later in the episode about our own mental health. And we sort of thought it might be positive and kind of helpful to talk about the things that we've been struggling with and where we stand on things like, you know, personally our medication, my medication, stuff like that. So we'll see how we go, but we'd like to drop this in at some point in this episode. So anyway, I'm going to hand you over to Mr. Gilmoss to kick us off with a little bit of a dissection of Kathy's episode and his key points.
Where do you start for key points? I mean, just look at all the comments that have come through for this episode. It's been quite a thing to see.
Lots of support, lots and lots of support.
I'm pretty speechless, if I'm honest. I mean, the suicide ones, there was a sting to them.
They hit different, don't they?
Yeah, there's a sadness that you don't really think about much, but
yeah. And I found, sorry, I've asked you for your opinion and then immediately spoken over you, as usual. But one of the really big things I noticed personally, and it is kind of one of the things I want to talk to you about a bit, because you're, and I have pre-approved this as well. I'm not just dropping this on John, by the way. So the key issue for me was this idea that he kept his depression secret, that he was battling this demon in his own mind, and he felt unable to talk about it. And I mean, things have changed, things have moved on in terms of men talking about their feelings, but I still think it's very difficult. And I think you're probably better placed than me to talk about this, obviously, but you've said, haven't you, that you don't tend to sit and have a coffee or have lunch together that often. It's conversations tend to be had in pubs where there's background noise, playing pool, darts, football. It's that sort of occupy one part of you so you can open up a little bit.
Yeah, we're for all the literature, for all the advertisement, for all the effort that people are trying to do, that we don't seem to be getting the message. Do as men, we don't talk about these things enough. But yeah, I think we've mentioned it before on the pod about this like busy conversation. So like a game of snooker, game of poker, that sort of thing.
I do it with the kids as well. I often, talk to them if we're walking, and that's probably my favourite way to have a conversation these days. Now I don't drink, which used to get me kind of loosened up enough to talk, and I like to be walking.
But I think the thing that we don't really do as men, we go in groups. There's some say, because you don't ever want to share in a group. It's very, very rare. You get the one-on-one coffees, or if you do, it's a work thing, or you're talking about a football match. there has to be something else going on, but it's that something else is always done in a group.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you solve it with us, Ben. We're just wankers. So
Sweeping generalization, but it wasn't made wasn't made by me, is what I'm trying to say. So no men shout at me. That wasn't me that said it. The dog may bark because we were supposed to be going out for dinner this evening, actually, and probably now's an opportune time to say it, but we've just cancelled because you're feeling a bit wonky, aren't you? And It's been a bit of a day. It was John's birthday, so we just had so much on, and protecting your mental health is important. And one of the things I have historically struggled with is boundaries and saying no to things. And I use that kind of overloading of myself as another escapism. And I know that is symptomatic of somebody who's had a trauma. It's almost like a drug in terms of keep busy to run away from whatever's actually hurting.
Yeah. So I'm just going to text Holly to get the dog in because I can hear her barking on the feed.
Tell me one thing that I said. I bet you can't. Right. Anyway, so I'm going to just jump back in again. We can edit that out, I'm sure. That's right. No, this is again an insight into our life. We are recording the podcast in our new studio, which is awesome, and it's in our garden. And of course, it's a lovely sunny day. So where on earth do you think my children are? Of course, they're in the garden, which is wonderful. But it does mean it's a little bit shambolic. So we probably will keep this one quite brief today. But we wanted to check in, and I just feel uncomfortable not putting out the episodes when we say we will. So just back to Tim and his mental health. So he kept it quiet, even from his wife, which seems so kind of crazy, but of course people do. And I do know of a friend, his husband hid his mental health, and ultimately it did end in the same result. So we know that talking about it's good. We know that even just saying it aloud helps. And maybe that's it. Maybe they don't have to talk to each other. Maybe just saying it, getting kind of talk in the shower, vocalize these things that you're holding.
That does help. The thing I know is, I suppose with myself, it's pretty much any emotion surfaces in the end as anger. It always comes out as anger, no matter what the root cause is. It's anger. It's quite a step to try and wade back to where the cause is to dissipate it out. By which point you wound up in your tents and you don't want to talk, and that can happen just even trying to vocalize whatever it is you're trying to vocalize or whatever you're trying to say. So, sometimes some of us punish ourselves in the gym, some of us
booze,
some of us play music, some go for a run. There's all sorts of ways of doing it, but I think it's more important to find what that is, especially on the male side of things, is to find out what that initial release is to get it out of your system when you go, and maybe dampen it down to a point where you can go into a group scenario and have these feelings in your mind. Some might say that if you can't say that in your friend group, it's not your right friend group, but we can't all be lucky and find the people find.
And I think so many friendship groups that, that even within friendship groups, there are certain people that you would go to about certain things. You wouldn't necessarily broadcast stuff, say, on a WhatsApp chat, to which I've got about, I don't even care to count what WhatsApp groups, and I like them. I find them a really efficient way of staying in touch with people, but I'm noticing that it's taking a toll on my mental health. Just the belief that I have to give everybody, so much of myself all the time, and it's taking its toll. So I have embraced voice notes this week, which my friends are loving. I keep promising to keep them all under a minute, but and obviously you can't listen to me at double speed because I do sound like a chipmunk, so that's not working for people.
It shouldn't speed them up that way. You should keep the pitch the same, but it doesn't seem to do that.
I think it's specific to my voice. Yeah. So back to Kathy. So I really liked Kathy. I like all my guests. There was something about Kathy, and she was so eloquent in the way she talked about how she felt and the betrayal that, because again, for anybody who hasn't listened, her husband had an affair, and this kind of came at the end of a really bad period with his mental health. They had money worries. He was exhausted. So let's just talk about this issue of men not talking. And Kathy knows. Is the dog still barking? Do you want to sort it?
Let me shut that window.
Yeah.
And see what's going on.
It's probably just Linda's here, isn't it? Shall I go out? So obviously this episode's going to have quite a few elements surrounding mental health within it. So we are going to talk a little bit more in depth about our own experiences, but I do want to, again, just think back to Tim. And for anybody that hasn't heard it yet, Tim, who is Kathy's husband, he admitted that he'd had mental health problems, and about 5 years prior to this, and he was really struggling, and he had tried many therapies and many things, and they had some financial worries, and I guess it all got too much, and he turned to alcohol, and he got kind of mean, I think. And you don't know what goes on in people's lives, but it ended with him leaving the family home, and it transpired he'd had an affair. So, and then quite soon after that, he took his life. So you have the kind of awful horror of losing somebody. Then you've got the horror of it being suicide, which, it is different. It is. And then to compound that, he's had an affair. And how do you kind of get around? I guess we've had Tash talk about this as well, and of course Lulu. And I suppose maybe it's giving people the confidence to talk about this very complex grief where you are so angry with them, but you still love them and you're still sad that they're dead, and how people can't always, outside of this world and probably within this world, can't always comprehend that.
No, and it's very strange how the human brain works. It goes through this self-destruct cycle where it just tries to destroy everything in its path. He turned to the bottle, he started having an affair, he was mean, and because of those actions, and naturally people don't want to be around you when you do that, so you just become isolating, and no one would think to ask the questions that probably needed asking. But how can you know when you...
Well, and it sounds like he was really, really desperate to get better, and he tried, various therapies and treatments and medications, and really kind of took it seriously once he'd admitted there was, that he had these concerns. But what I can sort of see or hear in this is that he was desperately seeking for an answer, something that would make this pain that he was in go away. So he's tried the alcohol, he's tried the medication, as I just said, and so forth. And ultimately, I suppose, sex. Let's do the ultimate thing that can blow my life apart and see if I can feel that, see if that blows this out. And it did, and that didn't work either. And I guess he just felt at the end of it. I am completely, guessing. I obviously didn't notice him, but all of us are prone to a darkness, to feeling low, and to that kind of. Many of us, and many of you listening, will have projected that inwards and had, really kind of dark and negative thoughts about yourself and kind of what purpose there is for you, and all that sort of stuff. And most of us can rally it and find the positive, but severe, crippling, debilitating depression, I mean, it must be like living with a physical disability. It must be awful, because it doesn't ever go. It's with you all the time. You can't escape your own head, can you?
No, you can't. And especially, when there is the term treatment-resistant depression, it shows that there is an awareness that this does exist, but we're not close to finding it than we are the cure to cancer.
And there is a lot of talk about psychedelic treatment, which isn't legal here. So, and I haven't tried it. And to be honest with you, one of the many reasons I haven't tried it is because I made the choice to go back on to sertraline, and you can't do them both. But I was considering trying it just to see kind of, I don't know. I mean, I as far as I can tell, it is relatively risk-free, but it also has some incredible benefits. But I would have had to go to Amsterdam. So that's on the back burner at the moment, because I just felt that the anxiety I was beginning to experience around things, particularly with regards to what's happening with the podcast and professionally, this is really exciting and wonderful, and I was getting very scared, and it was going to stop me grabbing the opportunities, I suppose.
Yeah, it was. I think you've done the right thing, and you've reached out, and you've put the scaffolding in place you need.
Yeah.
To then continue on your journey.
Yeah, and it's working so far really, really well for me. It's been really positive. I feel I sat the other day in the garden and the kids were playing, and everything just felt really calm and peaceful. And I don't know, as I can remember many times I felt like that. And it was, I'm not saying I'm in a constant state of terror. Every time you enjoy something, it's with the caveat of, but what if this happens? And I found now I am able to look around and go, oh no, actually it's pretty cool. Like, things are good.
Yeah, and enjoy the moment. I'm the same, and it's a relatively new experience.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, even before I became widowed,
Yeah.
My particular therapist unlocked me all the way into my past. So
Yeah, and you're unusual, aren't you, in that you are quite comfortable having therapy, talking about the fact you've been to therapy and talking about the benefits that you've seen from it. You really believe in it. And for a man, and particularly a northern man, to talk quite so openly about mental health and admit that you've struggled, I think is really valuable.
the things I wasn't 5 years ago. Well, yeah, 5 years ago today. No chance. I might have floated with the idea of actually going and booking and seeing someone, and it took what Sarah went through, and then even she said go and get some help. That was the push that pushed me over, and then once I went, and once I learned to trust the therapist, and I've talked about you about this trusted room. Well, I walk in, I shut the door, there's only me and the therapist, and she's not allowed by law or try anything unless it's a danger, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that bit, but you could basically be as honest as your brain wants to be, and the therapist is there to basically go, okay, but
Yeah.
this is why this is happening. And then they give you homework, much like a physiotherapist gives you homework to do while they're between sessions. And if you do the work, it's just as hard as physiotherapy. It's the same, just in your mind. If you do the work, you do eventually reach this crescendo where you can have these moments where you just sit like you did in the garden and say, this is all right. Life's all right. And just there's a million things could be going on, and there's an absolute trauma in your wake. But right at that moment, you're good, you're calm, you're okay. So lean into that and enjoy it.
Goodness me, wise words indeed from Mr. GM there. Yeah, you're right, actually. And it's by talking about it and confessing in inverted commas that I do struggle, and that this persona that people hear, when you listen to this, or perhaps, although I have probably been far more honest on here than I might have been even a year ago. And, the school mum, I mentioned to somebody once, a mum that I don't know so well, about having a bit of anxiety, and she sort of looked at me, she went, oh my God, I had no idea you struggled. And I think it is time, and I know we all are to a certain degree, but it still feels uncomfortable talking about it, doesn't it? Talking about mental health problems, and particularly when you see other people struggling so much more, and they have really, really awful, very difficult, challenging lives, and you feel a bit, what's the word? A bit disingenuous, I suppose. But actually, mental health it doesn't select. It doesn't go, oh well, actually, you've got a nice, happy life there, And I'm kind of disregarding widowhood here, okay? But therefore, you will not have this predilection to low mood and depression, and it doesn't work like that. You get kind of depression or low mood that's caused by a scenario, and you also get like a neurological condition, I guess. I am not medical, so I could be saying all the wrong things, so nobody tell me off, please. So as some of you may already be aware, I am neurodivergent, which is a term I prefer to use because otherwise you have to list acronyms. But I am autistic. I guess what would have been Asperger's, and I have ADHD. So I take medication for the ADHD. I take a stimulant medication, which has been really, really incredible. It's taken a bit of adjusting to, but it's really, for me personally, it's changed my life. But what it did do, excuse me, is it sort of lowered the ADHD bit of my brain, and it enabled the sort of autistic side to show a bit more. And that's been quite difficult because emotional regulation can be challenging and overwhelm. And it's a pretty overwhelming time when you've got 4 kids. You have to do the stuff like go to the soft plays and parties, and we share the load, but there's no escaping it. It's a lot. And I just felt at the moment, whilst I am processing still my grief, whilst I'm raising a young family, whilst I'm, enjoying my life with you, I wanted, and growing the podcast, doing all the cool stuff we're doing here, I wanted a little extra coat of armour between me and that rawness and the vulnerability, which is what the sertraline seems to be doing so far. So I don't know whether I'll stay on it for long term, but you still have to do the other stuff though. That's the other thing, is you still have to do the yoga and the, fresh air and the walking and all that sort of stuff, because medication alone, it isn't enough. But I think it's really helping, and I feel I've really talked for ages on that. So apologies if anybody's nodded off there.
I don't think they will have. I mean, this is quite honest and open discussions about mental health and, you know, antidepressants, but the people do think that, oh, take the antidepressants and you're fine. And more that they don't work, they rebound.
Well, I did it, didn't I? I stopped exercising and I said I've not done yoga for about 3 days, and it's because I'm taking those bloody tablets, and I think that I don't have to now. And it's just, essentially, most of us are quite lazy, and if we can take a little tablet in the morning, we will. But it has to be a more holistic approach, and I, for one, am a nightmare about getting, the correct nutrition and stuff. So I take vitamins, and I do drink lots of water and things, and as you'll be aware, I don't drink alcohol. So I find a manageable way of incorporating sort of healthiness. I can't bring myself to say wellness.
Don't say wellness.
We've both said it now.
Well, it's on the pod, isn't it?
That's it. It's out there in the world, because it still makes me feel a bit icky, but then I didn't think I'd ever meditate. So anyway, I suppose in a very lengthy and roundabout way, what I wanted to really do is express a debt of gratitude to Kathy for coming on and talking about some very, very difficult things, because suicide alone is a very taboo and difficult to talk about subject. But then to be able to talk about the betrayal that she felt and the isolation as a result of this very complex grief, I think that took extra depths of bravery, and I think she did really, really well. And I did share on Instagram actually that she sent the episode to one of her boys who's at university, and he really approved of it and was really proud of her. And it made me feel quite emotional actually, because our eldest has sort of said how proud he is of what we're doing, and it's a really nice feeling when your kids approve, because most of the time they think you're an idiot, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And we're immensely proud of all you guys who have shared your story with us on air, the ones that are in the queue. I know there's a lot of you, and some of you waiting to be contacted. I'm getting there.
I know. I'm sorry. We are booking past December now, guys. So we are doing our absolute best, and we will keep doing this as long as you guys want to be on it and want to listen. But we didn't expect this to be quite as big as it's becoming. So we have some really exciting stuff, and I don't want to be that tosser that kind of drip feeds you saying I've got exciting things coming up and then won't tell you. It's not done as a little tease. It's done because I genuinely can't yet.
But if you subscribe, you'll know about it.
Oh, you are just say like and subscribe and be done with it. You're itching to do it.
Just subscribe. Maybe give us a little review somewhere. Give us a 5 stars or a 4 or a 2 if you don't like us.
Don't give us a bloody 2.
We can take the criticism as well as the...
No, we can't. No, we can't. Don't give us a 2. I'll cry, and then it'll be your fault. You'll make a widow cry. So in other news, it was Mr. GM's birthday yesterday. So we're recording this on Thursday. So birthday was on Wednesday. And we had a right nice day. We went up to London and we had just had a couple of hours, and we came back home again, and then we sat in the garden with the kids, and it was bloody lovely. And just a really nice way to spend your birthday, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was all about disconnecting and relaxation. And that's exactly what happened. And it was lovely. Thank you very much.
That's all right. It was easy. So... Oh, and also we did survive the sleepover in the garden involving 6 10-year-old girls. That's probably why we can a bit dazed and confused, is because we're still reeling from that. It was Holly's birthday. She was 10, and we had a really, really lovely time. And once again, all the family were involved. Sarah's family, my family, Ben's family sent presents, and it was another sort of hodgepodge melting pot of family life that just once again felt really nice. So feeling pretty grateful but exhausted right now, if I'm honest. That's a fair summary of where we are at now, isn't it?
It's a fair summary, yeah.
One bit of exciting news I can share is that we are, as I said, recording this in our studio, but we aren't yet using the cameras because quite frankly, I haven't washed my hair for how long? No, I'm only kidding. We just haven't got them up and mounted yet. So hopefully the next wash-up sort of chatty episode next Friday, you will actually get to see us as well, which is a bit scary, but also quite exciting. And I'm going to try not to use filters because I really hate excessive filters. But let's see how much sleep I get the night before. Anyway, it is a little bit of a shorter one today, just because we are chasing our tails massively this week, and childcare, you know how it is, guys, right? So I just would like to say a big thank you to everybody who's engaged with us this week. We love hearing from you. Please keep it up. Voice notes, Instagram messages, however you choose. And of course, we do have the Facebook group. So have a little chat over there too.
And the subscribe and the review button, just in Spotify, in Apple Music.
For the love of God, will you just like and subscribe or, for us, so that he doesn't have to say it? So you're going to I'm just going to...
I'm going to record a bumper. I'm going to do a deal with everybody. If you're enjoying what we do and you find value, give us a subscribe, give us a like.
Yeah.
That's my deal. Let's do a deal.
All right. Okay. All right. You do that deal.
See how many people listen to the end.
3. My mum.
By the way, give us another on Instagram, or give us another in the group when you're giving us a subscribe. Or if you've already subscribed.
I might do a prize. I don't know what I'm going to give you. I could sacrifice one of the 100 pens that I bought because
we've got plenty.
ADHD, right? Anyway, we're going. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves, you lovely people, and we will be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.